the two mistakes people make with the devil is they either say he's everywhere and he's the cause of every problem, or they say he doesn't exist at all. The virtue lies in the middle. This is a real person. I say person meaning somebody that has a will and a force, but he's a spirit, pure spirit. So much more powerful than man. And Lucifer was the most brilliant and beautiful of all the angels before he fell. So he's someone to contend. We can't beat him in a fight. It's only God that can beat him. So your relationship with God is going to be your strength. So that makes me very sad to hear that people are saying they don't believe in God, because that's the one who can help them against these very evil forces.
Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, bless his holy name.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to Armor of God again. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. Well, for the past week, we've been covering a lot about the demonic that's taking place in Hollywood, and I'm sorry if you're feeling a little bit bored about this, but I just have to make another video about this one after seeing the poster of the show on HBO Max called The Sex Lives of College Girls. In short, let me read out what the show is all about, and I quote, "The series follows the lives of 4 18-year-old freshman roommates at the fictional Essex College in Vermont, covering their sexually active lifestyle as they deal with the struggles and hardships of college and adulthood. And although a lot of you who are regulars here know too well of what's going on in Hollywood, but apparently there are still a lot out there who thinks that we're talking nonsense, the devil isn't real, or it's just conspiracy theory, etc. I, for one, have been on the receiving ends of people calling me a fool, spreading fear and panic, and talking on and on about conspiracy and how the devil is at work in Hollywood. But the fight goes on, and I'll keep sharing messages from priests who cover them, especially the ones like Father Daniel Reehil, and I'm going to reshare a couple of those clips of Father Reehil here again in this video. But before that, I'd like to share this short clip of what this man said during an interview about how demonic Hollywood really is. I mean, for those who are probably having a hard time believing what a Catholic priest has to say, especially the non-believers, well, why don't they hear it from someone who's been in the industry himself? And please, if you'd like to watch and listen to the whole thing, there's a link to the full video in the description box below.
I'd say the devil's doing a great job of diverting your truths, and Hollywood is doing a great job of it too, because that's what it's there to do, is to make you think it's all nonsense, of course. And if you think it's all nonsense, then the devil's laughing, and it's very real. And you know, if you're a Christian and you understand the Bible talks about demons. That means it's real. If you understand the Bible is real, you know, all of that's not in there for no reason. So just because you've never seen it, and I wish you never do, if you've never been a part of it, but you still have to understand it's biblical. And luckily for me, it was biblical. And luckily for me, it's how I found God, because I knew the dark so well. I knew they were real. I hung out with them, which means, well, if you're real, surely God is real. And that's kind of my flip journey of how I had to get out of where I was. The industry is destructive. So let me take it straight to God, and straight to the world as a spiritual world. We have the Holy Spirit that guides us and protects us in the name of Christ. But the spirits, multiple and plural, that the demonic side of the music industry is very real too. That's how I came to God, through understanding the demonic side. So I think the industry has a way of just taking control of you in many self-destruct scenarios. I was certainly interested in being mysterious. It gave me a character. It gave me some substance that I could hold on to. And why I did that, or why I portrayed myself in those ways, I don't know. Maybe I was trying to prove something out of a boy band scenario, perhaps. But also, it intrigued me, the world, the darker side of the world, the Ouija boards, seances, all that kind of spiritual tarot card reading, all that kind of stuff really got a hold of me. And interestingly, that all came from our very first album launch, which you would look at very innocently, because it was around Halloween. It was a Halloween party in a big mansion, but in that was super demonic. But for this young kids, it's a bit of fun. All the record company are there, and all the journalists are there, and here we go. Well, when I look at the way the industry has the ruling over music, now, of course, not all music is bad. By all means, it's not. But majority of it there is to take you away from Christ. I've been in rooms at the top of the top, which albums are prayed over demonically. Music is prayed over demonically. That goes out to the world, goes out to the radio stations, goes out to the public. And when you see that stuff and know that stuff, it's frightening. So rituals, ceremonies, everything to bring, to give light to the devil, to Satan. It's a satanic music industry. That's majority of what it is. There were not Boyzone albums. So that's what I mean by not every music is that, but it was on the stepping stone to that. So you're going back to 1993s into 2000s. And then if you look at what the music is today, the industry is today, for all your Sam Smiths to your Dojo Cats to your Beyoncés they are so demonic, it's unbelievable. And we can't, it's in front of us. It's something that we kind of go, oh, it's just music. But it really isn't. It's absolutely taken over the world, taken over our children, and taken over everything that's coming to the times of world crisis. You know, we've got to be very careful on what doors we knock on. And as soon as you start innocently doing a tarot reading or a Ouija board or a seance or whatever them fun things as kids that we mess around with, you're giving grounds to the dark side. Of course you are. You're now engaged. You've opened the door. And once you open doors, they have the rights. They have the rights to come in. And I opened many doors and found myself in a very, very angry, very dark place, self-destruct place, violent place. And at one point of all of that, was I don't think I was quite suicidal, but in the industry that I was in, the press itself was, quite, with the whole, I'll say, phone hacking side of things and everything that went on and the paranoia. And, a lot of us celebrities are and have been through cases of all of that, which led to a lot of destruction. So the press themselves are even on a destructive path. And with that, just for me came a very, very, very dark place.
And just like what I said earlier in this video, I'm going to share 2 clips of Father Daniel Reehil here where he addressed the problems with Hollywood. Now, for those of you who have listened to this before, I'm truly sorry for sharing this again, but still, it's relevant to what Shane Lynch just shared about the demonic practices that the celebrities are doing to boost their careers, so to speak.
Yeah. So we've got, Hollywood's always been under the control of Lucifer. Jesus himself said, the world is under the control of the devil. I mean, that was out of God's mouth. So it shouldn't surprise us that places that have particular power with messaging, with music, which goes right to the heart, music bypasses the brain, goes straight into the heart, good and bad, that would be, something that he would want to control. Well, look at these people. Lady Gaga has a story that she was down on her luck playing the Bowery for, $100 a night. She went out to get some more drugs, meets this beautiful man who says, do you want it all? And she says, what do you mean all? He says, fame, fortune, and money, power. And she said, yes. He said, just worship me. And within a month, she had her first #1 hit. And then it's been a huge career ever since. By colluding with the devil, you're directly working against God. And so if you do that your whole life, at the end of your life, why would you think you're going to heaven? You're going to go where you've been your whole life. And in that way, he kind of does have them in a snare, because at the end of life, if they've been serving the devil their whole life, that's where they're going. They're going to hell. And that way he does kind of snare them. Does he own their soul? No, but now he gets to tormented for eternity. Even worse. So people have to realize, and the funny thing about this country is everybody wants the big payout. We're all after money, and we're after the big home and the fancy cars. And the Gospels continually tell us that's the hard road that's not leading to heaven. So like we wish for the things that are actually going to complicate our lives and potentially lose our eternal place in heaven.
And then there's another one where Father Reehil talks about Hollywood again. Just like what I said before, I love listening to Father Reehil because he doesn't hold his punches, and it's refreshing listening to a priest like him when the world today is filled with so many people who are super sensitives.
Why do celebrities continually choose to attack Christianity in their work and art? Perhaps it's just too provocative to steer clear of. It certainly brings in the clicks on social media, which may even convert to real money at some point. But do they actually know what they're doing? For some, I think they do. For others, I believe they're just completely ignorant that blaspheming God is so offensive to him and his kingdom. Remember when Jesus was being mocked and ridiculed and abused on the cross? He turned to his Father and he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Ultimately, that has to be our posture as well. We can voice our distaste for such vulgar and offensive behavior in productions, but in the end, we have to pray for their conversion. In the last few years, we've seen Christian Bale thank Satan after winning his Golden Globe Award.
Thank you to Satan for giving me inspiration on how to play this role.
Beyonce, in one of her music singles, described using the pages of a Bible for a tampon. And Oprah said that Jesus is not the only way to heaven.
One of the mistakes that human beings make is believing that there is only one way to live, that we don't accept that there are diverse ways of being in the world, that there are millions of ways to be a human being.
Please God?
And many ways, many paths to what you call God. And her path might be something else, and when she gets there, she might call it the light. But her loving and her kindness and her generosity brings her, if it brings her to the same point that it brings you, it doesn't matter whether she called it God along the way or not. God care about your heart, or God care about if you call his son Jesus?
I'm sorry, Miss Winfrey, I recall Jesus' own lips saying, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." The way, meaning singular. Madonna has mocked God continually over the decades. The latest is her cover of Vanity Fair, where she mocks the Blessed Virgin Mary by posing as her as Our Lady of Sorrows. She also represented herself as Jesus at the Last Supper, surrounding herself by 12 women. And Demi Lovato, in her latest album cover, has herself bound up in an S&M bondage-style outfit on top of a mattress shaped like a cross, with her legs positioned to one side, way too reminiscent of Christ on the cross. And Kanye West continually portrays himself as Jesus in his ads and videos. It's just mockery. Sam Smith made a song called Unholy with another artist. It has over 225 million views. It even earned a Grammy for Best Pop Duo Performance. But it's blasphemy. The dance numbers are choreographed sexcapades punctuated by the Catholic sign of the cross. And they connotate just a blasphemous kind of sexual sacrament. Lady Gaga is no stranger to blasphemy. Upside-down crosses, edible rosary beads, nuns in S&M outfits, and all sorts of risque religious imagery, all don the context of her almost pornographic videos that she deploys, the latest of which is called Alejandro. And the actress Addison Rae was recently ripped for disrespecting Jesus by donning a Trinity-themed bikini. You can imagine where the words Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are placed. But the latest is Lil Nas X, who released a picture of himself today crucified on the cross. Yes, he's crucified, not Jesus. Remember, this is the same man who was promoting Satan sneakers just 2 years ago. Maybe he's seen the light. I hope so. Time will tell. If you recall, Saul was terrorizing Christians, locking them up, and even willing to witness the murder of St. Stephen until his conversion. Then, as St. Paul, he becomes the greatest evangelizer in the last 2,000 years. That's the power of a big conversion. But all this has been done in the name of freedom of expression. We do have freedom. Freedom to choose good or evil. Remember what the Lord told Moses and the Jews. I call heaven and earth to witness against you today. I place before you life and death, blessing and curse. Choose life so that you and your children will live, and love God your God, listening obediently to him, firmly embracing him. But in the end, we can choose death, all in the name of freedom of expression. And when we do this, we choose hell. Hell is a choice. To live away from God, to mock God, to spit in his face, and boldly and intentionally reject him, is to choose hell. And if you choose hell and evil in this life, you can be sure that will be your reward in the next. Choose wisely. Time is short.
And just before we get to the end of this video, let we share this part in the visions of blessed Anne Catherine on the creation and fall of the angels here, because we just listened to a lot about the devil's way of doing things in Hollywood earlier.
I saw spreading out before me a boundless, resplendent space, above which floated a globe of light shining like a sun. I felt that it was the unity of the Trinity. In my own mind, I named it the One Voice, and I watched it producing its effects. Below the globe of light arose concentric circles of radiant choirs of spirits, wondrously bright and strong and beautiful. This second world of light floated like a sun under that higher sun. These choirs came forth from the higher sun, as if born of love. Suddenly, I saw some of them pause, wrapped in the contemplation of their own beauty. They took complacency in self, they sought the highest beauty in self, they thought but of self, they existed but in self. At first all were lost in contemplation out of self, but soon some of them rested in self. At that instant I saw this part of the glittering choirs hurled down, their beauty sunk in darkness, while the others, thronging quickly together, filled up their vacant places. And now the good angels occupied a smaller space. I did not see them leaving their places to pursue and combat the fallen choirs. The bad angels rested in self and fell away, while those that did not follow their example thronged into their vacant places. All this was instantaneous. Then, rising from below, I saw a dark disk, the future abode of the fallen spirits. I saw that they took possession of it against their will. It was much smaller than the sphere from which they had fallen, and they appeared to me to be closely crowded together. I saw the fall of the angels in my childhood, and ever after, day and night, I dreaded their influence. I thought they must do great harm to the earth, for they are always around it. It is well they have no bodies, else they would obscure the light of the sun. We should see them floating around us like shadows. Immediately after the fall, I saw the spirits in the shining circles humbling themselves before God. They did homage to him and implored pardon for the fallen angels. At that moment, I saw a movement in the luminous sphere in which God dwelt. Until then, it had been motionless, and as I felt, awaiting that prayer. After that action on the part of the angelic choirs, I felt assured that they would remain steadfast, that they would never fall away. It was made known to me that God, in his judgment, in his eternal sentence against the rebel angels, decreed the reign of strife until their vacant thrones are filled. But to fill those thrones seemed to me almost impossible, for it would take so long. The strife will, however, be upon the earth. There will be no strife above, for God has so ordained. Immediately after the prayer of the faithful choirs and that movement in the Godhead, I saw below me, not far from and to the right of the world of shadows, another dark globe arise. I fixed my eyes steadily upon it. I beheld it as if in movement, growing larger and larger, as it were, bright spots breaking out upon it and encircling it like luminous bands. Here and there they stretched out into brighter, broader plains, and at that moment I saw the form of the land setting boundaries to the water. In the bright places I saw a movement as of life, and on the land I beheld vegetation springing forth and myriads of living things arising. Child that I was, I fancied the plants were moving about. Up to this moment there was only a gray light like the sunrise, like early morn breaking over the earth, like nature awakening from sleep. And now all other parts of the picture faded. The sky became blue, the sun burst forth, but I saw only one part of the earth lighted up and shining. That spot was charming, glorious, and I thought, there's paradise.
Well then, that will be all for the video this time. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. And hopefully all of you have learned a lot from this video. Remember, if there's any feedback or suggestion, please let us know in the comments below. Anyway, if you like what we do and you'd like to support us, I left a link to our PayPal donation in the description box below, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your continuous support, contributions, and prayers. And until the next one, thanks again for watching and may God bless you.